Alrighty. Something I've been meaning, I maybe have addressed this in previous videos, but this one specifically. Something that kind of annoys me about people in just general life, but in fandom especially, is a lack of imagination. We're supposed to specialize in having very good imagination to be able to grasp this stuff. But once in a while, you run into a concept here and there where someone just won't see outside the lines that someone else has provided for them, usually. Specifically, it's been going another round around about which way the bridge faces. It's a microcosm of a larger problem. Ever since Franz Josef produced those blueprints in the tech manual back in the mid-70s and presented us with a bridge that faces 36 degrees to port, because so many people have taken that as gospel and refuse to even consider something else here. And I will cut Franz Josef Schnabel some slack in the fact that he wasn't really a big fan. His daughter was and still is. He was doing this for his daughter, but there's not a lot of reference material available in 1973 when he started this whole thing. Blueprints were there was a diagram, the diagrams the studio put up, but there's a diagram of the bridge, but nothing really doesn't relate to the outside of the ship at all. And the stuff there. And you got this model with a little thing on the back of the thing. So okay, well, that's it. And it was, again, a bit of a rush job as much as you can for something that detailed. The fact that he did it all pen and ink, it's insane. And the fact that it sort of had tacit approval from Gene Roddenberry and Matt Jeffries at the time. But that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't have any problems with it. And it's like, but no, so they didn't think Star Trek was coming back. I mean, you had the animated show. I think maybe it was just coming on and just over with. And well, that's it. We'll wrap up. Get maybe some novels or whatever, but that's it. And Roddenberry was signed on to anything that would make him some money, because he was getting paid on that. But in the clear light of day, it's like it doesn't work. And since then, we've gotten more comments back when Bob Justman and Matt Jeffries were still around. They were asking about this, where they're not looking at something where they could possibly get some royalty money, but it's just a question: which way does the bridge face? Where's engineering? That sort of thing. Where's engineering? Jeffries' response was kind of look at your weirds in the engineering hall. Where do you think it is? Of course, thing is, why they would ask that question, because those damn blueprints put engineering back up against the impulse engines in the primary hall. It doesn't fit. It's very bizarre things Jeffrey, that Franz Josef did to make it fit in there. And I tried myself to make it, adapt it and think, no, okay, hold it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And I finally think, well, the engineering hall, it goes down there, and whatever's, because it's the script, all Franz Josef had at the time. Well, yeah, those diagrams that showed up in the making of Star Trek, and were also promotional materials they sent out, and the description in the making of Star Trek, which is a little vague. It says the headquarters for engineering is back there by the impulse engines. It doesn't say engineering is. But it's an easy misinterpretation to make, because it also says down in this lower hall, that's where engineering and fabrication stuff is, all cargo holds. So you can go either way, and he went one way. But so many people have just taken that as, well, that's it. There it is. No, it's not. Because it is coming, because since then we've had, comments from Bob Justman and Matt Jeffries. Matt Jeffries at the time, it's like, Rob Justman's like, and the other people, yes, we're involved in the thing. No, as far as concerned, the bridge faced forward. But also, I think in the mind of Matt Jeffries, I think I got this passing from Mike Okuda. I mean, not only did the bridge face forward, Matt Jeffries would never conceive of making the bridge face anywhere but straight ahead. He was a pilot himself, as an aeronautical engineer. He worked on. He was one of the guys in the back of the B-17 flying over Europe, getting stuff. And a lot of the bridge design was based on his experiences of what he wished they would do instead. Because a lot of times, they have to get at a piece of equipment and they're bopping somebody in the head trying to get it. It's like if you could get from behind, and that's where the way the bridge is, all the stuff would be worked on from behind and not bother the guys at the station. And building on that, yes, there is room around the bridge where the techs are behind there doing the little, gremlin things. By the same token, the turbo lift is not, it's not directly behind, but it's for camera reasons why it is where it is. So you're not looking up, Shatner's nose while somebody comes in from the thing. You get a nice dramatic side shot, and there's the door, and everything looks fine. But that door does not line up with that tube. Now, maybe that tube was there to represent the turbo lift, or not, There's nothing contemporaneous with the show to say it is the turbo lift. Nothing made during the show points to that tube and say that's the turbo lift. It's just there. Now, I assume maybe it was intended originally, but that still doesn't mean that that's where the doors are. And in fact, the opening shot of the cage, first pilot, yes, it's a wonky shot, but it's clear the intent is the bridge faces forward. Those doors are not lined up with that tube in any way, shape, or form. And they've certified that with the remastering, the CGI version. They cleaned up as best they can. And still, doors, tube, not aligned. Bridge faces forward. So basically, it's a case of, it is now official Star Trek policy. The bridge faces forward. Stop arguing it doesn't. Okay? So I look at the thing of, our job is not to tell the show, no, that's not how it works. This is, our job is to take the evidence we've got there, as imaginary Starship engineers trying to back engineer this stuff, is to take all the stuff that we've got, and again, we take the general stance. Bridge faces forward. How does that work? It's our job to figure that out. Not to say that's not how it works, because you got the only time we ever see the bridge in relation to the rest of the ship is the cage. And that dome is quite a bit bigger than it is in the regular show. I keep getting diagrams sent to me of the production version of the dome. No, it doesn't fit there. But that's not the idea. It would fit that way in the pilot bridge. So what happened in between that and when it suddenly got shorter? And the way I see it, and then this is the way I see it. I'm not saying this is doctrine, but this is the way it's going on my deck plans when I finally get back to working on them. Is now what happened in reality is that, they looked a little dorky, the dome sitting up so high, so they chopped it in half. Building on that, when someone pointed this out when I was having the debate on Trek PBS about this, what they did was, figure, again, you can fudge the numbers a bit to make it all work. And it's a TV prop. Of course you got to fudge some numbers because the ship itself, the saucer is not perfectly round. The nacelles are not the exact same length, and they're not necessarily parallel. There are little oddities on the ship, so you're not make an idealized vision of the ship. You're going to have to fudge numbers anyway. So, with relation to the bridge and the pilot dome, you might have to fudge it a couple of feet here and there. They'll make it all work so the thing faces forward, the turbo lift's there, and it swings around and goes whatever. So what I figure happened is somewhere between where No Man Has Gone Before and the Corbomite maneuver, the bridge was lowered about halfway. And surprisingly enough, the cutaway drawing of the Enterprise that Matt Jeffries did it tends to imply a sunken bridge. So take that for what it is. But the thing is, that way, you have the bridge still oriented the same way it was in the cage and when No Man's Gone Before. It's just lowered down in the hull for added protection. And all you really lose is, I think, that big round briefing room, which I figured was directly below the bridge. I figured they got another briefing room somewhere else. They don't need that one, so down. You only lose one room. And in fact, I had a little fun with that, and I have 3 or 4 different versions of the bridge where the doors are over there, doors are over on the other side, doors are directly behind, there's 3 doors, all kinds of fun. And as for that tube, I figured to end the debate there. It's not the turbo lift. It's a subspace, radio, transceiver. Just take it out of the equation completely. Same way I did with the big pipe thing down in engineering. Because everyone likes to jump, even Doug Drexler, who normally I respect immensely, but this is where, no. Has to be editing. That big tube in the engineering, with even Doug Drexler's jumped on this thing. It's like, they go to the nacelle. No, they don't. because there's too many scenes that imply this also has something to do with the impulse engines. And they're the wrong angle. They can't just cross it because they're too steep. It's not worth it. And you don't have enough room back there for the shuttle bay, so it's better. And if you also take the various shapes on the underside of the hull, there's a big yellow with a red circle, with yellow filled in, right about midpoint. And it's the fact that it's yellow with a red circle. The rest of them are just gray, gray and something. So that's just regular hatches. But this one is important. I'm figuring that's the where the warp core is, or in the parlance of the thing, the matter-antimatter reaction chamber, which a term actually comes from that which survives. And they kept it through the thing. It's in the Next Gen Tech Manual, but that comes from the original series. And is also the primary argument for the warp power. The power is generated in the secondary hull and channeled out to the nacelles, not the other way around. It's another one that we can blame on Franz Joseph for the most part. But I figure what happens is, and again, whether or not this mirrors the thinking of Matt Jeffries at all, I don't know. I can only hope that I was along similar lines when I was back engineering this. Is that you got the warp core down below. It does what it does. And at this stage, the lithium crystal thing wasn't integrated to the warp core like we see in later versions. In this one, it's separate, in the middle of engineering. So you got the power generated in the warp core, the plasma generated. Then it goes up through the dilithium. Part of it is diverted through the dilithium articulation thing, and back to the nacelles, which also means that in engineering, the second season on, you got the big thing in the middle. That big cathedral pipe thing is actually forward. You're coming in aft. But they're also able to put it directly over that red circle. So, yeah, you can do a warp core ejection on the old Constitution class ship. And then the other ones are like there's a antimatter pods and the generator and those, the various things going back there. But that's the thing, is like, you gotta look at this stuff you see on screen, and don't just, and yet on screen, this goes up with the Concords, which I'm finally back to working on, and I need to be working on now, but I got to do this, vent a little bit. You take the on-screen stuff, and you work from there. Never mind what Franz Joseph put together in the 70s, as pivotal and seminal as those works are, they're not right. Okay. They differ from the official record. Again, mainly because that official record wasn't really complete in those days, or wasn't easily accessible. It was back in the days when the rerun market was just kicking on. They didn't have home videotapes, or certainly not DVDs and Blu-rays. The most we had was, various fans who tape recorded the audio, and you might get some stills from conventional or whatever. And the thing is, his daughter worked for Bijo at Lincoln Enterprises, so she had access to whatever was there. But again, whatever there for reference to the ship was not much there at the time. But you really got to, if you look at the show, and again, now you have the advantage of being able to throw in a DVD and freeze framing, all kinds of mean, funny things, and break it down to, okay, and a large part of it does have to be chalked up to Magic Box's technology. We don't know for sure what's going on behind those doors. And to try and assign it to some 20th century analogy, it really kind of cuts everything short. There's they're 300 years advanced than us. You got to cut them a slack to, we don't know what they're doing. Whatever it does works. Go with it. It's just basically a big thing, use your imaginations, people, okay? Don't be so limited. And that goes on and beyond just analyzing deck plans and blueprints and everything else. It's like, use your imagination in the world around you, too, okay? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. The reason why that's my favorite line out of Shakespeare, And with that, PayPal, Patreon. I am now on Minds, and I'm trying to get on Gab. I'm going to start posting more on Geeks and Gamers. I don't know how much longer Facebook is going to put up with me, but I'm still posting stuff there. But I'm gonna put a plea that I got almost 1,300 subscribers. If even just 10% of you guys would get on there for $1 a month, that would make our lives a lot easier here. Because I'm 2 people on there right now. God bless them, but only doing like $6 a month. So, and the only reason I got $11 this month because I forgot a month and it was still sitting there. So, again, if you like the content, it's like surely I'm worth $1 a month, guys. So yeah, let's get that back up there. I used to once upon a time I was doing like $50-$60 a month out of there, and now it's dropped to nothing. Now, before this really gets disgusting, we'll talk at you later.